Hi guys, this is Nu-Trix the Synth Guy, and as always I'm testing gear for electronic music. Now today I've got my hand on the SH-01A from Roland, and I'm going to go through it, show you the tools, you know, the way it works, and try to give you insight on how it works inside out. Like, this is kind of the modern version of the SH-101. The 101 was one of the monophonic, very interesting synth that Roland came out in the early days of analog, you know, one box kind of synth. And the 101 was really cool in the fact that it sounded great. It was a simple synth to use, but still with a lot of complexity and flavor to the sound. It came in different colors. You had the gray, the blue, and the red. Slightly different, not in design, but I think in circuitry in a way, because some people say that, you know, the red sounds a little bit different than the blue, so it might have something with, you know, the components maybe. One of the things that people that own a SH-101 or played with one always tell you at one point is they say, it's one of the hardest synth to make sound bad. In a way, it means basically always sound cool what you do with it. And when you look at how it's, you know, structured in the synthesis, the reason it's simple, the synthesis in this is fairly simple, you know. It's monophonic. There's only one oscillator, one filter, and it's a low pass all the time. So the feature you have in this are rather simple in a way, but at the same time, the kind of the right amount of control and texture to give the complexity of the sound and give life to the sound without being really boring or anything. And it is the reason why it was and is still one of the synth that people love, just because it is very easy to make a cool sound with it. Now, let's go through it, look at the features, and understand how it works. Okay guys, so the SH-01 is part of the Boutique series, so like other Boutique series, what you have at the back is rather the same thing. You've got MIDI in and out, you've got mix in if you want to have another Boutique or whatever other machine goes into this, and it will not be processed, it's just a mix. And then it mixed with the internal sound going out into output. Output would be a line output you send to your mixer, phone to your headphones, volume knob. You've got the USB connectors. That the connector can be used to send a signal to your computer. When you use it with the computer, you have a MIDI in and out, and you have audio coming out of this into your computer. And you've got the, you know, power switch on off. Like this, in this case, I connected the USB into my mixer. So this is just like connected to the computer. You've got MIDI in and out and audio, as I said earlier. Now, if you don't want to use this, you connect output to whatever you want, and this can use, the USB can be used to actually send electricity into the Roland SH-01A. In this case, you would use it with anything like this. It would work. Any type of smartphone charger would work to power this thing, or battery you use to recharge your telephone would work with this also. And it has a battery section for 4 batteries to work, and you have a small speaker here, so if you want to play it without headphones you could, but well, you won't get the real sense of the Let's start with synthesis on the SH-101. Now the synthesis on the SH-101 is fairly simple. You only have one VCO, one oscillator, you have the pitch you can control. Okay, you've got these two controls, you know, the modulation comes from the LFO sent to the pitch. Okay, so it can be weird, but in this case, let's just start with classic sound. What we hear right now is just a square wave, the sawtooth, and the sub oscillator. Now what's really interesting is that these three are the same oscillator, this one. It's just that this one generates 3 different tones at the same time, but they're all tuned. They cannot be detuned, so there's no way you can do stuff like FM synthesis, sync, or cross modulation, stuff like that. It cannot exist, because for this to exist you need 2 separate oscillators. In this case it's one oscillator generate 3 different shapes coming off this. This is something you would see in a modular synth usually, but it's a very clever way to create complex waveform with just one oscillator. So if you have just the sawtooth, And then you bring the sub. And the sub can be 1 octave lower. The sub is a square wave or a pulse wave. Square, this one, let's say square, 1 octave down, square, 2 octave down, or pulse, 2 octave down. Now, if we bring, the first one was a square wave. If you play with the pulse width, you're changing the shape to create a pulse instead of a, and if you leave it there, in this case I've got some modulation on it. Modulation comes from the LFO that is here, and you hear the modulation of the shape. And that's just because you were, and this is only using one shape, one sound. Now if you bring the other one, so very powerful sound with just one oscillator, with 3 different shapes coming off this. So that's why I'm saying with only a very simple design, you have a very powerful sound. So again, this is one of the reasons that the SH sounds good and it's very easy to, to program. You can also have a noise. You can bring in, I'm just gonna keep this one for now. That could be the noise. And actually in the sub-menus somewhere in the hidden features, you can actually choose a different shape of the noise, either the original kind of analog noise or a digital noise if you want. Then you've got the filter. Filter is always a low-pass filter. So you have control over the cutoff point, the resonance. And that's basically the filter. These 3 are only the way different controllers can then modify the cutoff point. So you've got the envelope. So you go see this envelope here and how you want this to control that. So this is now controlling that point here. If I want to use the modulation, it goes looking for that one. Bring the envelope down. So this is the modulation of that one, okay? Then you've got keyboard. Keyboard basically means the filter will open and close depending on where you are. Higher or lower, it will actually close it down if needed. So what is nice about this is you can actually use, there's only one envelope, but you still can use that envelope for the filter. And you can say that the VCA either use the envelope also, so that it will be the same envelope for the 2, or uses a gate. So the VCA will just open and close, and that's it. You just have just on and off. And the envelope would now be for the filter. But it means you've got no release, because there's no release here at the gate for the VCA. If you want to release, you need to send the same envelope for the 2 of them. You could also use this envelope to control the shape of the pulse width modulation. I could actually bring that down here. Let's see. Let's open this up. The changing of the timbre is controlled by this now. Let's bring that back to the LFO, bring that down here. So this is basically the synthesis. You've got also the choice of you want the gate or trigger to trigger the envelope, or you want the LFO, actually just the gate, or LFO to trigger it. Let's try this. I'm going to go like this. Okay. And bring that here. So you're going to hear that really. So what you hear is the envelope being re-triggered at the speed of the LFO. The length of the LFO is triggering the envelope here. So if you don't want that, because then it becomes a kind of weird, complex LFO basically. If you want to just have the envelope played once, like a normal envelope, you have to switch it back to trigger, gate, or LFO. Okay, 3 modes. We didn't talk about the LFO. You have choices of the different shapes of the LFO, okay? And you can also use pitch bend and the modulation. And you can decide if the LFO, not the LFO, but the bender will control the VCO, so the pitch, or the filter. You can control. So pretty cool. Okay, now you can switch how the controller here go low in keys, mid or high, and you want to use portamento, automatic, off or on. If it's on, then it's manual here. I want it to be really. That's it. Other options in here. You've got arpeggiator, down, up and down and up. If you press up and you press 2 keys, you press hold, it's going to stay. Get rid of these 2 and then notice it's a monophonic synth. Now this is for the arpeggiator. If you want to go into other features and say, well, I want to open up the, polyphony of this thing, it's possible. It's not supposed to if you think about the original SH, but now it is. You press on the menu and you've got the menu 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8. If you turn the tempo, or if you press directly on the number, you'll get into different section of the menu. So tone is the patch memory. At the end of this video, you can click on another video that shows you. I'm just going to play the different sounds so you can hear them. This is the pattern memory, so you can actually save a sequence in it. The next one is assign. If you press on assign, you're assigning the way the keys will be assigned to the notion of monophonic, unison. So then you've got like, I think 6 different oscillators at the same time. 1. It's still monophonic, but it's just wide sound. And then you've got this, which is it's polyphonic. Oh, sorry. Or okay, and the last one is chords. You can actually record chords. I mean, you just press on it and you select how far away from 0. This is 0. I want it to be a third, and this one is going to be a fifth, and this one is going to be a seventh, and this one is going to be nothing. So they're just not sounding good. Okay, so that's it. And you click on them really rapidly, just turn them off. That's it. So monophonic, unison, polyphonic, chord. If you get out of this by pressing menu, press the menu again. As I said earlier, you had tone memory, pattern memory, you have assignment, and then you go into system. You press on system, and then you've got all these different choices here. They look weird when you look at them. The first one is noise. You've got original, organic, or the original sound, if you want, original sound of the noise, or more of a, let's close this, open just the noise, and you'll hear what this sounds like. So, analog sounding noise, and more of a digital sound, more like a pink noise, more like a white noise, So 2 different ones, 2 different sound of a noise. Now, you turn again, and you've got LFO. You want the LFO to be original. Let's try this to hear what it sounds like. Bring that down, bring this. Okay. Yeah, this. Original. So there is a wider range of movement. It goes to really higher speed than the original LFO. Again, LFO, you've got tuning, so you can actually tune 440 or something else, classic stuff. You got the channel for the MIDI channel. You've got sync, you want it to be automatic sync, so if it receives syncs, it will follow it, or you don't want to be following anything. Now in this case, the sync will be for the sequencer, the arpeggiator, then you've got velocity. By default, if you don't have velocity and you enter the notes, you can say, you know, maximum velocity or something else. This is for velocity curve, is actually how the curve of the velocity for the keyboard will work. Do you want it to be, if you press on it, high, normal, or low? Next one is CC for control change output mode. This is on or off the choices. So basically, if you load another sound in it, when you load it, will the synth send all the parameters through USB MIDI outside. So you can actually send all these MIDI information and record them. The cool part about this is you could record these kind of a patch memory in a sequencer, and when you play back it would just resend the knobs to the right value while the MIDI sequence is playing. So it could be interesting. By default, I think it's off, but if you want it to be put, you can put it at on if needed. CV scale, so you can actually scale the volume of the CV, plus 63 and minus 63, so you can scale it up. You've got CV tuning, so you press on this and then you can detune the control voltage coming out. You've got CV reference note. You can actually specify a note number instead of an octave, and for the output to be sent out. And you've got automatic off, how many minutes it will take before it turns off, especially if you're working on battery mode. That can be useful. And you've got the demo mode, after how many minutes it will actually turn into, you know, Vegas mode and all the lights will blink. You've got rescale. Actually, this is for if you want to use this as a note generator, because you don't have the keyboard, because the keyboard is extra. It's not part of the buy. You know, the synth is only this. If you don't have the keys and you want to play the notes, you can actually use this to send note to it, and you could say the scale that you're going to use for that here. The next one is for C2, controller number 2. This is a modulation controller, you know, pitch bend and modulation. And when you leave it by default, like a lot of Roland modulator wheel, it will actually go back to 0. But you might, like if you're on, let's say, a Moog or a Yamaha, you usually leave it at one point and you let it go and it stays there. So if I want this to happen, I can actually turn this to hold, and then if I keep it, you see, now it stays. And if I move it here, it stays there. So because it's on hold, if I turn it back off, now it's back to normal. We went through all the menus in the system. Now the last menu that you have, if you press menu, the last one is 8, the last one. So the last one, 8, means basically manual. So everything that is physically selected at the top of the machine will become the sound that you hear right away. So now it becomes like kind of a no memory analog synth. What you see is what you hear. That's it. That's it. I hope you liked this video. I hope it helped you learn on how it works. If you have any question about the SH or other type of machine, please write it in the comments down below. If you want me to test other things, if you've got other ideas, again, write it in the comments. If you like what I'm doing, thumb up. If you don't, well, too bad. I'm sorry. And follow me on YouTube, follow me on Facebook, Nu-Trix the Synth Guy, and I also have my website. You probably have it on the bottom here. And there's another video for this. I made a video for the sound, just the banks of sound of this synth, so you can really just put your headphone and listen to the sound you can create with it. So probably somewhere here you have to click on it. And that's it. I hope you like this, and see you next time.